Yes. Sure. I can do that.
Check, check.
Jeremy, you good? Yep. All right. Shorty McShort stuff here. Good evening, candidates, residents, business owners, and friends. My name is Chris Matera, and I'm the Executive Director of the Basalt Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited that the Chamber is able to present this opportunity for you to get to know the candidates running for mayor and town council. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Sue Kiley and the Basalt Regional Library for hosting us this evening, and thank you to our sponsors, the Roaring Fork Weekly Journal, Bank of Colorado, and the town of Basalt. It is through their generous support that we are able to live broadcast this on GrassRoots TV, record, and rebroadcast the event. The stream is available on the same website as town council meetings. You can go to grassrootstv.org/town-of-Basalt. We kindly ask that all electronic devices be turned off or set to vibrate, and that Wi-Fi is turned off to preserve the bandwidth for the live stream. A note to our viewers at home, if the stream freezes, please wait a moment and refresh your browser. The final recording will be available on the GrassRoots TV website and will be broadcast on the GrassRoots Community Network cable channel. Tonight's format will include a brief introduction of the candidates, a series of questions from the chamber, followed by audience questions that were submitted in advance. Candidate responses will be limited to ensure that everyone has a chance to speak. The first few questions will be limited to 2 minutes, and they were given to the candidates in advance very early this morning, so they had some time to read them over. And then the following questions will be limited to 1 minute in order to address as many issues as possible. We're calling this the lightning round. There will be a 15-second warning, and then there will be a noise when the time runs out, obnoxiously coming from my phone. I would now like to introduce our moderator this evening. Kathy Markle has served as the moderator for the last 2 chamber candidate forums, and we are fortunate to have her back again this year. She's also the owner of Harrington Smith Floral and a chamber member and former board member. Please welcome Kathy Markle.
Thank you. I would just like to take one brief moment to say that this is not a debate, and therefore we will not have rebuttal. We will not have outbursts, name callings, all those bad behaviors. Thank you. All right, I'd like to introduce the mayoral candidates. Bill Infante at the far end and his family fell in love with Basalt and bought their first home ever in historic Old Town after 25 years overseas. The Infantes settled in the valley where both kids graduated from high school and where he and his wife own a Basalt business. He brings fresh perspective and progressive ideas and decades of relevant experience to Basalt. Bill worked in both the U.S. and abroad in the public and private sectors, serving our country as a senior U.S. diplomat and as UN ambassador to Serbia, managing large teams and $100 million portfolios. He is committed to promoting inclusive, accountable, and transparent government. Bill currently serves on the town council. In the middle, we have Bill Kane. Bill and his wife Carolyn have been residents of the Roaring Fork Valley for 46 years. Bill has worked in both public and private sectors. He has served as the planning director for Aspen and Pitkin County, partner and principal at Design Workshop, vice president of Aspen Skiing Company, and the town manager for the town of Basalt. Carolyn has served as an obstetrical nurse at the Aspen Valley Hospital and is past president of the Basalt Library Board. Bill is running for mayor because he believes that he can bring experienced leadership to town government and tack away from the divisive politics of recent years. His three main priorities are community, comprehensive planning with controlled growth, and communication strategies that better include town residents. And just here on my right is Rob Levitt. Rob has been in the Valley for 32 years and in Basalt for the last 15. He served on the town council from 2012 to 2016 and has been on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the past 2 years. While working on the town's master plan, he saw how much development was being contemplated for the area and decided to run for mayor to help contain that growth. He lives with his wife Erica, and they have 2 daughters in the Basalt schools. He owns a general contracting business and has been teaching skiing for 31 years. When not working or going to meetings, Rob loves to fish, hike, and bike. All right, ready? We're going to start with our first questions. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we start with your own, what you can call it, opening statements.
Opening salvo.
Yes, that's it. And you have 1 minute each, and Chris will show you in the back when you are getting very close. And she becomes quite obnoxious when you run over. So, let's see, who should go first? Let's go straight down the line and start with Rob.
What can I add to what Kathy said? I've been on P&Z for the last 2 years, and we've been working really hard the last year on the master plan for the town. When I saw the master plan was contemplating 2,000 units to a town that had 4,000 units, I thought, wow, we need to take a second here and figure out how big we actually want to grow. 75% about what we talk about in town government is growth issues, but we can't build our way out of a growth problem. I have 2 kids in the Basalt schools, and I believe that strong schools make strong communities. I saw on the road today across the street from the elementary school that 7-Eleven is advertising vaping products. And I'm not a big alarmist, but I just think that's not really the best place for that kind of sign. Talk to the town, I'm going to do something about it. And finally, let's return this town to civil discourse. Just because we disagree doesn't mean we stop talking. Anybody who's married knows that.
Okay, Bill?
Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. It's wonderful to see such robust support for our town government. I believe Basalt is at a crossroads. We've weathered some very difficult issues and tough divisive politics in recent years. The time now is an opportunity for us to move forward, put some of these battles in our past, look at it through the rearview mirror, and embrace a bright future. This is Basalt's time to shine. To begin with, we must redevelop our vacant grocery store in downtown Basalt. We must complete the River Park plan to include the art base to create vitality for downtown Basalt. We should definitely start the Basalt Community Forum process. I've had communications with Aspen Institute to get that process underway. We should complete TACAW, hopefully get construction under this spring. Work closely with the school district to improve education, follow through on climate action plan, and complete the 2020 comprehensive plan with growth controls in place. I'll finish by saying I've been a resident of the Valley for 46 years. I have skied all the peaks, I've fished all the rivers, and I've hiked all the hikes. I have been a staunch supporter of, one sentence, of the environment in this valley, and a manager for Basalt. My work and experiences make me perfectly prepared to serve as your town mayor, so thank you.
Next time you're going to have to talk faster.
Is timeliness a job qualification?
Bill?
Well, welcome all. I'm Bill Infante, and I'm running to serve you as the mayor of Basalt. My wife, our 2 kids, and I settled in the Valley about 5 years ago after 25 years of living overseas and serving the U.S. as a foreign diplomat. Our family's rooted in Basalt. Our kids graduated from the Valley High School. We bought our first house here in Basalt, and my wife and I now have our business registered in Basalt. Bettina serves the Basalt Chamber, and I have sat on town council for the past 2 years. Our family's very, very committed to community and public service. While working overseas, I led large teams that help build inclusive democracies and resilient communities. The experience is relevant to Basalt, and I've put it to work for you for the past 2 years. I'm running for mayor now in order to build upon the foundations that we laid since 2018. We've passed our vision, our strategic framework, the first in 8 years. We've also introduced much dramatically enhanced financial oversight and controls. Taxpayers' interests are now far better protected. I'm confident that I bring the right skills and relevant experience to shape and execute the vision for all of Basalt and to make our town even more incredible. We are one Basalt, and I look forward to serving you as mayor.
Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Rob was definitely the best, and he didn't even have to yield his time to the chairman formally, Okay, so here are a couple of questions. Now, our candidates have had a chance to review these questions and think about their statements. I would encourage you, if you agree with someone else, to merely say that. I would encourage you not to repeat things that are actually in your bio that we read, your introduction, and concentrate. So, question number one, I'm splitting into 2 pieces. 1, in 1 sentence, what words would you use to describe your vision of economic sustainability? And 2, what do you believe the role of the town is in creating that vision? Let's start with Bill Infante.
Okay. Well, again, most of my career was spent living and working overseas promoting economic development, and that means building microenterprises, building communities, building the foundations for what we ultimately boil down to growth, jobs, and prosperity. It was an easy message to deliver, and that is the same message that I would deliver to our town of Basalt. We want to promote growth of ideas, of knowledge, the kinds of industries that deliver ideas to the world. And by industries, I mean industries and institutions like the Rocky Mountain Institute, the Aspen Global Change Institute, our other great arts and cultural institutions that will ultimately distinguish us as something really special and unique, make us a destination for people traveling to Colorado and through the valley. That's part of what vitality is to me, and I certainly hope that our business grows, and all of our other businesses across Basalt grow and enjoy the same prosperity and success that we hope for.
Any time left?
Was that 1 sentence?
Okay, 45 seconds to tell
Okay.
us what the role of the town is in creating that vision.
Aha. Yes. I have some pretty firm ideas about the role of where the role of business sector or the business community and the role of the town lies, or the role of the public sector. The role of the public sector is to provide the incentives to establish the regulatory and legal frameworks in which business can work and flourish. The role of the business sector is to bear the risk of operating risk, financial risk, and all other risks, but to create the vitality, to promote the demand for employment that is so imperative for our communities.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Bill Kane.
Okay, so this
Same-
does not have to be 1 sentence.
That's how you want to present yourself.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so do you want me to repeat it just
Yes,
a minute?
please, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to get you in 1 sentence to use words to describe your vision of economic sustainability in Basalt, and then to tell us how the town council, what their role will be in creating that.
Great, thank you. In Old Town, these are two separate questions because we have 2 principal urban centers. In downtown Old Town Basalt, we need to create a new urban design plan. We need new sidewalks, we need lighting, we need signage, we need street trees, and we need a facelift for the public infrastructure. That's one piece that would create a delightful downtown that does justice to our wonderful historic architecture. We need the town to engage with the owners of Basalt Circle to find a plan for the redevelopment of the grocery store. Grocery store is a major missing tooth and a missed opportunity economically in the town. There are many exciting ideas that include mixed-use residential and commercial, possibly another grocery store on the ground floor of a multi-level building. And I think the town should take an active role in promoting having that opportunity. We need a shuttle bus to connect the three disparate centers of the town. The Old Town, South Side, and Willits could benefit from a spectacular bus frequent service to help unite and integrate our three elements of our community. Willits and Basalt downtown have the opportunity to create great cultural institutions. The TACAW is likely to pull their building permit in April. The town should do everything it can to make sure that financial barriers are removed and the Art Center for Willits becomes a reality with performing arts almost 24/7, which is a phenomenal contribution. The art base was recently approved, Tuesday night, in fact, February 25, and that puts into motion the possibility for the creation of a new 6,000 square foot art-based building in downtown. That combined with commercial and residential will add a lot of vitality to the downtown. Finally, what I would say is that we have the opportunity to fix our community. So improvement is not growth. Improvement is improvement. And we can do the grocery store, we can fix up our towns and keep the outskirts of the town protected from sprawling development, which we've done a good job doing. We have an urban growth boundary and we have lots of open space protections surrounding the community. We can be a wonderful European model with dense urban, functioning urban, vibrant cores surrounded by agricultural open space. Thank you.
You're welcome. We can't really hear your obnoxious alarm back there, so. Yeah. Rob?
Ryan, hope you're taking notes, the town manager, because you've had some great ideas here about how we can spur vitality in town. 60% of the Basalt budget is based on sales tax, primarily City Market and Whole Foods. They're going to open a City Market in Carbondale. What's that going to do to us? So we need to be prepared to be sustainable and resourceful here. Best thing the town can do to help the businesses in town is create vitality. We're going to open up a new park on the old Pan and Fork, Basalt River Park. That's going to bring people downtown. We're going to have a restaurant in the park, kids running around. That's going to be great for town. It's going to be great for the businesses in town. One thing that wasn't mentioned, though, is people will move to and open businesses in towns that have great schools. So Basalt needs to do everything it can to help improve our schools. We've got a great school board, and they're doing lots of things, but we can help. We approve more and more teacher housing, and that's probably the number one thing we can do. I've worked really hard to do that on P&Z and when I was on town council. We could possibly fund a school resource officer. We have one at the high school. We could use one of the other two schools. Anything we can do to help the schools is going to help the town, going to help families move here, going to help people open up businesses here. I think I have 30 seconds left for my closing statement.
Brevity is always appreciated.
Kathy, I was on town council. Brevity is really appreciated up there.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Many Basalt business owners are not Basalt residents, and so they are ineligible to vote in town. How do you plan to engage with the business community to ensure that its voice is being heard? Bill Kane.
Thanks, Kathy. I would make it a point, as I did when I was the town manager, to stick my nose into every shop in town as often as I can. I almost never walked to work when I was working as town manager where I didn't get to see one of the merchants or talk to them, just to ask them how business was. Sometimes it's just a morale builder. Sometimes it fixes some practical problems with snow removal, which happens every once in a while. And I would meet frequently and often with the business owners. I would also like to give consideration to resurrecting something we did under my watch as town manager, where we did more and more with Midland Avenue. We did street closures. We did a lot with evening events. We did a free lunch that really kind of pulled the town together in the dark days of '09 when we didn't know if we had a solvent banking system in our country, and it was a smashing success. The Sunday market came out of that, and I think that communication with merchants, I understood a lot of their business models, and I think we did what we could do as a town to make sure that they were heard and that we did everything we could to assist them. But I think the bottom line is getting in the stores, talking to them, and listening. That's probably the biggest piece that we can probably provide.
Okay, Rob?
I work in Aspen every day. up in Pitkin County. I can't vote there, right? I sit in traffic that they're not addressing, so it does go both ways. Just because Basalt owners can't, Basalt business owners can't vote in Basalt doesn't mean they can't influence in things that are going on here. Right? They talk to people, they can put signs in the windows. I find the town council, town staff very approachable. Meeting with staff, we have public comment at council meetings, email, text, phone call, have coffee. There's plenty of opportunity to engage both the elected representatives and town staff. So that does give business owners business owners a voice. You know, my friend Shay Singer owns a business downtown. I see her up at Highlands a couple days a week. We talk all the time. We're a small town, small community. It's not that hard to engage.
Bill?
Thanks. I do a lot of walking around as well and have reached out to businesses in Old Town and in Willits, and I hear some pretty familiar refrains that are not going to be too surprising to any of you. Most of the businesses are very concerned about affordable housing. They don't have a place for staff to live. They're very concerned about the stability of their workforce. It's really difficult for them to recruit and retain. They're really concerned about transport. They're really concerned about parking. They're really concerned about the costs of health care. And so these are the kinds of issues that the town can help them address. And the ways that we address these things are by working with the businesses, the chamber, the other communities up and down the valley, and with the counties. Attracting vitality, I'll return to that theme, is about trying to get greater recognition for those segments of business that we are interested in promoting. We know that we want to see, that's 1 minute, okay, that we want to attract more knowledge-based industries, whether these are entrepreneurs or businesses. One of the ways to do that is to establish Basalt, seek accreditation as a small business development district. I've spoken to the folks at DOLA about this. It's totally achievable, and it puts us on a map. Speaking to the folks at Capitol Creek, they're really, really interested to bring more people into the Willits area for evening events. They have asked if we could help them secure accreditation or certification as an entertainment district. That's also all possible. Seeking designation as a creative arts district for Basalt is something that's very plausible, and if Basalt secures that designation, then we can combine with Carbondale and have a creative arts valley. But I would look to the chamber. The chamber is the place where business can voice its opinion, its desires, its need. And I would suggest that we work with the chamber to coordinate regular meetings, that we also, that we work with the chamber and invite them to submit an annual policy agenda that we can work on together to achieve.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay. This is kind of building on that last question. You've described your plans for outreach to business owners who may be non-voting members of the community. What about the rest of the members of the community? How do you intend to define the rest of your community and include them? And that could be residents of unincorporated Eagle County who are within our physical realm of Basalt. It could be people, or is it just voting constituents only? Let's see who hasn't gone first yet. Bill Infante.
I have, but I'll be glad to go first again.
Well, y'all have to go first again sometime.
Yeah, that's no problem. I'm awfully conscious of our past, and frankly, I think that Basalt and we are going to move forward by looking forward. The way to unify, in my opinion, our town and rebuild trust is to advance a vision that defines a common purpose and a shared identity, something that we can all rally around. In 2019, I've talked about it before, but in 2019, we adopted a strategic vision statement. This was the first vision statement, to the best of my knowledge, to the best of anyone's recollection, that we've had for about the past 8 years. this vision statement articulates these 4 big objectives that we're going to seek to achieve. And broadly speaking, they shake out as community engagement and social inclusion, economic development, addressing the green environment, and then infrastructure. And what's critical about this is that having these objectives establishes the priorities that we can all work to achieve. Having this strategic framework also gives us a manner to prioritize and to budget against, and that's critically important. But I am a very, very strong believer in communication. Bettina and I have owned a public relations and communications firm for the past decade, and so I understand the value of community outreach. And in each of the past 2 budget cycles, I should say, I've suggested that perhaps we could recruit and retain a communications and outreach person for the purpose of disseminating information to you and recruiting information from you. And so I would love to see us move on that dimension of public outreach. But
15 seconds.
But I guess unifying our community and having a cohesive community begins with a cohesive council. And I look forward in May of 2020, after the election, to having a great team of fellow councilors with which we can move our agenda.
Thank you. Rob, what do you think? How can you represent only voting constituents, or can you represent a broader segment of the community?
Of course, not just people who vote in Basalt. Basalt is much more than within the town limits. We take into Eagle County, Pitkin County, Missouri Heights. There's a lot of people out there that say they live in Basalt. They don't live in Basalt. You know, when I was on town council, we went through the master planning process. And, we went through the our town planning process. And people were jazzed. That got Basalt excited and rallied around something, and school kids were doing drawings, and people were stopping in the offices, and it was a really engaging, positive thing for the community. And we can get back to that. It's easy now to reach out and talk to people. But we're going to set a tone in the community. We're going to open up a new park on the river. We're going to have a huge barbecue. We're going to get everybody out there. And it's going to be a town celebration. You know, we have 3 days that we can use the Roaring Fork Club for town functions. We only use 2 of them. And when I was on council, we talked to the town manager about having a Basalt party. No fundraiser, no silent auction, no agenda, just a party for people in town. Week before school opens, the week after school opens. Get the kids in the pool, go play 9 holes of golf, have a barbecue. We're a small town. That's a small town activity, and build that goodwill back up where it was.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Thank you. I just had the wonderful opportunity to serve as a moderator for discussing Upper Valley mobility through the Aspen Institute. And we were able to bring in outside experts from not only around the country, around the world. We convened citizens from up and down the valley, and we discussed transportation from every possible angle. I think we can take a page from that book for Basalt and initiate the Basalt Community Forum. I think the forum would not be limited only to voting folks of Basalt. We should draw upon the best ideas and the best wisdom and experience of the Valley residents. I've had personal conversations with the staff at the Institute. They are very enthused about doing this. They have budget, they have staff to reach out and help Basalt. These could be at the library. There's an old saying in sports that, you know, there's no bad weather, they're just bad clothes. Well, I think there really aren't that many bad people. We just have some very bad communication processes. I think we can fix it. I think we could have meetings in this room with outside experts, with consultants, and folks that could help us work through communities ranging from better education, better community policing, 5G, whatever the issue is. Rather than starting that in the public hearing forum in town hall, we can convene people who will pull together as residents and friends rather than getting caught up in wedge issues and rivals. So we need to really fix our communication process in the community and find ways so that we can disagree but not be disagreeable. We need to remove the cloud from Basalt of these adversarial, bitter, sort of pitting neighbor against neighbor politics. And I think a community forum, as I just described, is probably the most expedient way to do that.
Okay. Bill Infante?
I went first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would be glad to go again.
No.
Get another 2
So we
minutes
have
would
some
be
more
fine.
questions now, but these are going to be 1-minute response only, okay? And our sound guy back there can't just cut your sound out, but we may have to bong more loudly because I think people are interested in hearing more questions and more responses than longer responses. So particularly if your answer is yes or no, feel free to say that and move on.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, question number 1. Do you believe that new housing is needed and that building it here would be a benefit to our economy and quality of life? Rob?
Yes, but. The master planning process gave us choices of density or urban sprawl. Those are the only two choices. It's not a binary equation. How about small, tasteful developments?
Okay. Bill Kane?
Yeah, along that line, I think that we have a wonderful opportunity to improve our urban centers, create greater vitality, and do it in a way that doesn't create unwanted or negative growth. We can fix up the downtown. We can improve the urban spaces in Willits without generating significant new negative growth impacts. So I think that the best way to go about this is the vehicle of the comprehensive plan. I think we can identify sites that are available. I think to answer the question directly on affordable housing, we're not there. We've got 4 or 5 different categories of housing. We've scored well in certain categories and we're falling short in others. So we need a fully diverse range of housing types to address it. Gail Schwartz is here tonight. We got Habitat. We're going to partner with them and make sure that we deliver housing that addresses the full spectrum of housing needs in the town. So I've got the high sign back there.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, of course, we need more housing. We know from the past surveys that we're several thousand units short in the valley, but as with so many issues, we're not going to solve this independent of communication with the rest of the communities and counties with which we share this watershed. So first and foremost, we're not going to solve the problem independently. We're going to do it with all of the others. But how we do it is responsibly and hopefully sustainably and in a manner that adheres to sound and contemporary best urban practice. So that means developing the core and not developing the periphery. It means having it transit-oriented and hopefully net zero and energy efficient. So yes, we need more housing, and we know this from the businesses, and we know it from the families who'd love their kids to move out. And find their own housing, I should say.
When the collective thought from the community is in conflict with your own personal opinion, how will you determine how to vote on key issues? Bill Kane.
Great question. I think we are elected to serve the public. And, I know a great example that's probably fresh in everyone's mind is what evolved on the Pan Fork. Initially, I was a proponent for building on the corner of Two Rivers Road and Midland Avenue. I thought that was a great opportunity for a major hotel building and something that would create a great urban statement for Basalt. I came to learn that people hated that idea. I think people wanted to preserve their view and access to the river, and they thought it would have been a great missed opportunity to build on that corner. So over years, I've come to respect that opinion, and my wife and I walked around the town for the last 2 days. I can't tell you how many doors we knocked on, how many people we met, but we heard that sort of the number one issue for folks is being heard by their elected representatives. So I would do a lot of listening and make sure that my views reflected what I was hearing out there. So.
Okay, thank you. Bill Infante.
Well, on April 7th, you all are going to cast your ballots and you are going to elect us to represent you. And so it is our obligation and responsibility to vote with the best judgment and with our best insights in the interest for which you will have elected us. Not everything can be put to a public referendum, but when we put decisions to a public referendum, and when the town votes, we should honor the will of the people. We can't put initiatives to referenda continuously when we don't get the answer we like. And so, yes, we will listen to the public, we will represent you faithfully, and we will conduct referenda when and as appropriate. And I hope that we will honor your wishes and will.
Rob?
I'm running on a slow growth platform because that's the message I've been hearing from the community. But I also think that that's the message that we can send to our surrounding communities. If we can speak with this loud voice and let Eagle County know that we can't grow the way they can on that side of Glenwood Canyon, we don't have I-70 moving cars the way they do. We need to be more strategic and a little more thoughtful about our growth over here. So we can use this election to send a really strong message. I realize that we live in a time that votes go 51 to 49. So you're not going to get your way all the time. You're not going to get your way all the time. I'm not going to get my way all the time. We have to understand that. We have to be reasonable, compromise, and work together.
Next question. So continue, Rob. With that in mind, how will you, what tools will you use to work together with other area and regional organizations to enhance our quality of life and business in the Mid-Valley?
Everything we have depends on the entire valley. But I think we can use, as I just said, this election as a time to send a really good message. So if we can talk with a strong voice, it gives us more power when we go meet with Eagle County commissioners and when they come over here to meet with us. We have a good, strong relationship with Pitkin County, and I think we see eye to eye with them as far as growth and other things in the community. Local jurisdictions, Carbondale, Aspen, Glenwood Springs, we need to talk and get together because all these issues that we're facing, transportation, traffic, pollution, sustainability, it's not only a Basalt question, it's a Roaring Fork question and beyond that.
Bill Infante.
Well, again, I believe that we need to work more collaboratively with the counties and communities with which we share the watershed. We have a lot of common problems, affordable housing, energy, transport, and others. And as elected officials, it is incumbent upon us to reach out to other elected officials. I see this as a partnership between us and staff, building the relationships that are so important to making decisions that affect us all. But there are state and other frameworks, such as the Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, on which I sit, and which has been profoundly important in shaping my understanding of the great examples that exist around our state and within our counties. And so those are the frameworks that we can use individually and through pre-existing networks to build our knowledge and to make a change.
Bill Kane.
Yes, thank you. Would you repeat it, Kathy? I just want to make sure I got it.
It's really, what tools would you use
Yeah,
to?
thanks. Yeah, I think and I sympathize with Rob's views relative to growth and development. It's a major concern for everyone. I think it's important also to understand that Basalt has defensed itself on three sides. On the Light Hill and Down Valley piece, we have secured open space on the Salt and Stall and Glacier ranches, Billy Grange, everything out at the high school, the Reno Cerise property. There is virtually no potential for development on those lands. They've been completely sterilized with conservation easements. The Up Valley is Pitkin County, very stringent land use regulations that would control any development. The other side of the valley is federal land, so no development there. Our biggest weak link is the Highway 82 corridor. And we have to strengthen our ties to Eagle County. We need stronger teeth for the Roaring Fork Valley Planning Commission, which is a creature of Eagle County government. We need to meet more frequently and make sure the Eagle County commissioners are aware of the values of the folks in this valley.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question, because you've all been, no? Come on. Okay, we're already behind. Sorry, guys, that was it. So now it's time for your closing statements, and you may use this time to, in any way you choose. except for dancing.
How much time do we have?
1 minute.
Yeah.
Not appropriate at this time. Who would like to go first? Bill Infante.
I have the honor again. Wonderful. Well,
Has he gone first too much?
that's okay.
Go ahead.
I like it. Bettina and I have been walking our neighborhoods over the past couple of weeks, and it's always one of the great parts of campaigning to hear what our community has to say and what our townspeople have to say, meeting more folks. And what I hear pretty consistently is that people want something different. Trust in our town's leadership has been shaken by decisions that overrode the will of the people, and they've expressed this in a succession of votes. The past decade hasn't really been a golden age of unity or community cohesion, but the last 2 years do give me hope. I'm conscious of our past, and I believe that the way to unify our town and rebuild trust is to advance a vision that defines a common purpose and a shared identity that we can all rally around. Our community is calling for vision, leadership, and a plan to move forward. We'll move forward by looking forward while respecting those who came before us. We'll move forward by saying yes to new ideas, to new people, and to new approaches.
Thank you.
With the right team of counselors, Kathy, we will execute a vision that reflects the will of Basalt's residents, voters, and taxpayers. We are one Basalt, and I hope to serve you as mayor.
Rob.
A biased
1 minute for Rob.
participant.
Well, Kathy and Chris, I think I have a minute or two in the bank if I need it for my closing statement. You guys have heard where I stand on growth and the schools and civil discourse. But I want to point out that I've pledged to spend only $1,000 on this campaign, and I'm self-funding it. This should be a campaign about ideas, not about yard signs. Look, I'm running for mayor, not for class president, so it's not a popularity contest. All those yard signs, Chris, sorry. The yard signs that end up in the landfill the day after the election, to me, is such a waste of resources. This is a town that passed a climate emergency in 2018, all right? Let's take that to heart. We can get the message out now with help from our friends and the newspapers that we don't need to make it a popularity contest. So I don't want your money. I do want your vote. I'm Rob Levitt, and I support that message.
Thank you. Bill Kane.
Thank you. I'm coming at this from a point of view of serving for more than 40 years in the Valley in one form or another, either in government or on nonprofits. I can't think of a time when I did not serve on a nonprofit board. My experiences range from being board president of Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, the Aspen Valley Land Trust, and the last 6 years for the Art-Based, where I served as president and led us to a conclusion about acquiring a new site and a new building. I think I demonstrated when I was the town manager that I can think creatively and bring new solutions to problems in Basalt. Specifically, I was able to work with the Bank of America and get the Willits project out of foreclosure from Joseph Fried and Sons. I, along with my staff, were instrumental in bringing Whole Foods together with Mariner to create a renaissance at Willits. I think that speaks for itself. It's been pretty successful. We started the Sunday market in 2010 when I was the town manager. We were desperate for investment spending in the town. That was a great success. We did free lunches, and a lot of those fun, innovative, and low-cost things could be resurrected again. I look forward to doing them.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you to all of our mayoral candidates tonight. I'm going to turn this back over to Chris.
We need to do like the low version. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, candidates. You guys transition.
Don't you have a hook that you could?
I'm working on it. Okay, several announcements. So since this is very politically focused, we'll start with not the mayoral election, but the presidential primary. Reminder that tomorrow is Super Tuesday. Presidential primary ballots are due by 7 p.m. Please vote, get them in, have your voice heard. Related to that, the 2020 Colorado caucuses are this Saturday for both the Democratic and the Republican. If you are registered independent, you cannot participate in that. Details about these caucuses, which does select the non-presidential candidates on the primary ballot, which will be set on June 30th. Any details about that are on coloradodems, DEMS.org, and https://cologop.org, so Colo GOP. Also, I'd like to note, if you are a registered independent and voting in the presidential primary, you can only submit one ballot. If you submit both, you invalidate the voting that you just did. So please just submit one ballot. Okay, next. This is a census year. It is very important that we get a complete count of everyone in the area, as census data impacts many different areas. Or the way I explain it, the census is about money and power. It's what federal funding we can get and what federal representation we can get. It's also how we figure out, do we have the right population to support a new business? It's very important data that the town uses, the chamber uses, and other businesses as well. So please get counted as part of the census. The greatest challenge in Basalt is that the forms are not sent to PO boxes. So you have 3 different options to get counted, and that is, you can go to 2020census.gov. That opens up on March 12th. There's a call center that you can call with a phone number, and I think 16 different languages are supported. And then if you do not have a PO box, if you have a standard mailing address, you will get the mail-in form, and if you don't get yourself counted, people will start showing up at your door, so make your life easier and get counted. The biggest part with the census, besides the PO boxes, is we really want to make sure we're counting young kids, seniors, the Latino community, as well as seasonal workers. It is based on where you are on April 1st. And if you're like me with roommates, you pick a designated head of household to fill out the form. For local efforts, you can go to the number 2, P for Aspen to Parachute, census2020.com. There's also a poster here, and we can post additional information on the Chamber's website, as well as the Basalt community page. Now, there's been a lot of questions about ranked choice voting. This will be the first time that it's happening in Basalt. Pam has some great information in the back, and there's a sample ballot with Ben Franklin, Hamilton, and who else? Jefferson. But Pam has examples of what ranked choice voting looks like. There's also a whole FAQ sheet that you can also review. That information has been posted on the town's website, basalt.net. So what will happen with the mayoral election is that you will vote in a rank order of the 3 candidates, and it's immediately going to go to an instant runoff if there's not a majority. 50% plus 1, I believe, is how it works. Again, information is available on basalt.net. The town's also working to get a different way of explaining it in a video format, so it's easy to understand, potentially with candy bars. But again, any information you need is going to be available on the town's website, or if you have questions, talk to Pam. All right, we've got settled in. You guys ready? Mayoral candidates are now off the hot seat. It's now your time to squirm. Kathy, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make some introductions for our town council candidates now. These are descriptions and bios that they have written themselves that they would like me to put forward for them. So first here is Glen Drummond. Glen has lived in Colorado for 15 years, along with his wife Jenny and their 2 dogs, Rosemary and Time. Prior to choosing Basalt, which they made their home 6 years ago, the Drummonds experienced the towns of Parachute and Snowmass Village. Now they can often be found on one of our community's extensive system of bike or hiking trails, or taking advantage of Rafta's bus services to reach one of Basalt's businesses or events. Currently, Glen is a volunteer member of the Parks, Open Space, and Trails Committee. He's seen issues divide the community when active listening to all points of view and finding common ground could have brought us closer together. He believes that government should work with transparency and active citizen engagement to accomplish solutions and establish goals. Elise Huddle is sitting in the middle, And she moved to the Roaring Fork Valley in 2005 for an internship with the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies, after 8 years working in IT project management. Wanting to dig deeper into the environmental field, Elise earned a master's degree in Public Administration in Environmental Science and Policy from Columbia University, which led to 6 years in municipal sustainability. For the past 2 seasons, Elise has served as the Basalt Community Garden Manager. She loves a good adventure and recently spent 9 months studying pastry in France, followed by a month in India studying yoga. She is looking forward to her next big adventure, serving you on town council. And David Knight is to her right. David lives in Elk Run with his wife, Melissa, and his son, Luca. He is a native of the Atlanta area and moved to Colorado in 2002. He works out of his home, managing a team of technology project managers who live throughout the United States. Outside of work, David enjoys serving as his son's Cub Scout den leader and participating in Habitat for Humanity. He also participated in the ASE Vision program for the airport. David is a drummer and enjoys teaching and playing music. This is his first foray into politics, and he has thoroughly enjoyed hearing from the community as a part of the campaign process. Dieter Schindler, at the end there, lives in Elk Run with his wife Michelle and daughter Genevieve. He has made a career in the hospitality, food, and beverage industry. He is running for town council to bring a fresh perspective, a thoughtful can-do energy, and a collaborative spirit to our town's decision-making process. Dieter is solution-focused, and his leadership brings people together to accomplish the end goal. He will work hard to represent the town's citizens, collaborate with community partners, and honor the place his family proudly calls home. And Tiffany? We forgot Tiffany. Sorry. Tiffany Haddad lives in Willits with her husband Steve and their 2 sons, Sebastian and Luca. Does this mean we have 2 sons of candidates, both named Luca? Interesting.
Awesome.
Tiffany is a certified yoga instructor who leads retreats across North America. Besides raising her 2 kids, Tiffany works part-time for a loving family in the Valley. Her commitment to connecting with people from all walks of life is what has propelled her into running for town council. She believes that with more community involvement and listening to all residents, she can bridge divide and create meaningful relationships between the town and its citizens. Not present this evening is Jen Riffle. She is out of the country traveling. Okay, we're ready for opening statements, and each candidate may have 1 minute for his or her opening statements. Let's start with Tiffany.
Hi. Okay, it's working. Sorry. So just going off of that statement, raising 2 kids in this valley for the past several years has been so inspiring, just being a part of this community. Basalt schools, Rob was saying earlier how education is so important, and it's really incredible to be a part of a community that is so committed into creating a space and environment where their children can thrive and grow. And so that is my mission, is to create an inclusive environment. So thank you.
Okay. And Dieter?
Yeah, hi, my name is Dieter Schindler. This community's issues are my issues that I face as a father, as a husband, and as a professional. My family, when we moved here, I think I mentioned this earlier, we had an early childhood development hurdle that we had to overcome. We have, others have not. I'd like to earn a position in the community to help find solutions. I have a father-in-law with Alzheimer's. It requires extensive care that I wish was closer than Carbondale or Glenwood. Again, I would like to earn a position in this community to find a solution. So, build a stronger sense of community, urban growth, protect open spaces and environment, a connector, affordable housing. I would like to earn a place in this community to where I can help be part of the solution. I'm running for town council because I truly believe that I can be part of the solution.
Thank you. Glenn?
I'm running for town council to keep the current momentum of the former council, or soon-to-be former council going. They've done a lot, they've gotten a lot accomplished, and I think if we continue working together, we can keep getting things accomplished and we can keep doing good things for this community. We do have to work together. We do need to work with our regional partners, and I also understand the time commitment that it is going to take in order to achieve this for you guys. So that will take a significant amount of time. It's going to take a significant amount of effort, but I'm here to represent everybody in this room and get accomplished what we need to as a community.
Okay, Elise.
My name is Elise Hoddle, and I am running for council after participating in the Basalt Master Plan process. I attended all of the meetings and compiled a lot of the research from the engagement piece of it. And what I want to do is to bring a fresh perspective and to really listen to the community. The things that came out of that process that I heard that I would like to see us move on as a council and as a community is to increase vibrancy in the community while still preserving the small town character, unifying Basalt. There shouldn't be east and west and Willits and Old Town and all that good nonsense. A balance of density over sprawl. I'd really like to see some better affordable housing programs, and finally, really embracing the natural environment, both from the perspective of the two beautiful rivers that run through our community and also the emissions reductions projects.
Thank you. And David.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is David Knight, and I am running for town council to serve our community and ensure that Basalt remains a great place to live and work. We are all here for what the community has to offer. It's the culture, the outdoors, and most importantly, the unparalleled quality of life that we all get to lead here. In my work in technology, I play a leadership role in sustaining the growth of our business and collaborating with others to deliver outcomes. I believe I can harness these skills on town council to help drive a pragmatic approach to growth. I'm also a musician and have been passionate about what music and art can do for people. I want to be a champion of the arts for our community. Finally, I believe strongly in the importance of people being connected to one another, whether this is virtually through networks or through transportation like trails. There is tremendous opportunity for our community to grow and become more connected. Thanks.
Okay. I'm going to abbreviate the next question since I think there's a lot of agreement on vitality and sustainability. And I'm going to ask you all, what do you believe your roles as council members are in achieving the goals and tenets of economic sustainability? Let's start with Glenn.
Planning and implementation. Like, that's our responsibility. We've got to plan it out. We've got to implement it. What everybody puts forth, we all have grand plans. We've got volunteer committees. They all put forth ideas. They all bring these things to the town council and ask for their backing. That's what our role as town council is to do.
Thank you. Elise?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what do you feel is the role of the town council in creating and sustaining economic vitality?
I think one of the mayors, I'm sorry, I forget who brought this up, mentioned that the River Park will be a great gathering space for events and community happenings. And that was one of the things that I heard quite a bit through the Basalt Master Planning outreach and engagement, is this desire to have a place to run into your neighbors and to have events and have vibrancy. And so those types of things will bring folks to town. They'll encourage restaurant use and shopping and so on and so forth. And so the role of the counselor is just to provide the space to make those things happen.
Okay, thank you. David?
Sure. Maintaining the master plan, which is essentially our roadmap, I mean, that's one of the biggest and most important things the council can do. I think the other part, though, we have that roadmap, we need to stay cognizant and aware of what people's wishes are in the community, so that way we can continue to reflect that in the decisions that we make. And finally, just working with all stakeholders in the development process in a transparent way.
Thank you. Dieter?
I'm sorry. You know, I agree with a lot of this in your point to brevity. But, you know, I think the role of the council is to take heed of what the public is saying and to, you know, and to deliver the best of their ability on that, on the message that they're receiving. And it kind of speaks to earlier when we were talking about maybe it's not easy, or maybe it's not that I know the answer or whatever, but it's really to collaborate together as a council, as a community, and then take that and move that into action. And a good start is the master plan, but a good start is kind of the collaboration and building the momentum that we already have going.
Okay, great.
You
Yes.
just keep forgetting me.
No, I'm not. I thought Chris
here, I
was waving
promise.
at me.
I'm live.
You have the final word this time.
In the flesh. I'm
I'm
here,
kidding you, I promise. Chris was distracting me. All right, please, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Guess what? You're going first next time.
Okay, well, that's what happened the last time.
Yeah.
So I think role of council should be regular engagement with its citizens to hear the needs of each resident, and to show face. You know, I had to go online. I didn't know all the faces of council. So when I went online to see, I was like, oh, okay, that's who that is. I just feel like developing a relationship creates better engagement. And so then the processes can maybe not take as long and move at a better rate.
Okay. How we doing? We're good, okay. So specifically, as regards businesses owned by people who are not registered to vote in the town of Basalt, which, by the way, does include Willits, how do you propose to engage their input and potentially represent them? Do you want to represent them as well? Tiffany?
I think absolutely that businesses in Basalt need to be represented, whether they are registered to vote here or not. There is a reason why they've decided to open a business here, and so in order to represent the businesses, you need to hear what all businesses have to say.
Okay, thank you. And David?
Yeah, we need to represent the businesses in our community. In my day gig, part of what I do is understand what our customers, how their businesses work. What I want to do, if I'm lucky enough to be elected to council, is to learn about the businesses in the community here to the same level. Obviously, we need to work with the chamber, and we also need to make sure that we're in step as a council in whatever we're doing to represent our business community.
Okay, thank you. And Elise?
I'm lucky enough to have a partner who is a business owner in this community, and whether he likes it or not, he's sort of my ambassador because he knows everybody in town. So I would say FaceTime is really important to get out there and understand what our business owners need and what they're looking for, and appreciating what they bring to our community.
Okay, thank you. And Glenn?
I think representing the businesses is definitely important, and I believe as town council, as town government, what we do is we provide a good business environment. That means parking, transit, possibilities for customers to come and go in a very timely manner and in a very effective manner. That way they can have people frequent their businesses, spend their money, and do it in a very easy way.
Thank you. And Dieter?
Again, I agree with everything you said. I mean, it sounds great, right? But I think, you know, to engage the business owners, it has to be an active engagement. They're massive stakeholders in this community. You know, they have the bars, the restaurants, the businesses, the art centers, the grocery stores, the things that we use on a daily basis. So while not all of them are voters, what we have to do our best as a community is go out, outreach to them. I do pop into stores and restaurants as I go as well, and just talk to them about how things going, because you're interested, right? You want your community to be strong. But I mean, it has to be active engagement with those business owners if they're not voters, because we need to understand what they want the community to look like, so we can help everybody be vibrant and sustainable.
Okay, now you guys have been so great that we're going to get a lot of questions in, which is great, and we're officially designating these as 1 minute. So, but thank you for your brevity and your to-the-pointness. All right, Elise, what will be Basalt's biggest financial challenges in the next 4 years? And I mean the government's challenges.
In terms of how they allocate money, I'm not sure I understand. Yes, okay. Well, I think the biggest challenge, as always, is that there are competing needs. And so deciding, where to put money, I mean, even with
And
our
revenue
own,
sources.
yeah. Oh, and revenue sources.
Sure.
I think, increasing vibrancy in the community will help with revenue sources since sales tax is such a big piece for us. I understand the concern with the new city market in Carbondale, but I think that will only pull away for a short period of time, and then it'll sort of kind of find a reset balance. And then in terms of spending, affordable housing, super important. I would like to see a lot more done with that. And the circulator shuttle, sustainability, there's just, emissions reductions, there's so many opportunities. So the challenge is what to do, and listening to the community to make those decisions is where to go.
Okay, thank you. And Tiffany?
As far as allocating funds, I think the challenge is going to be having to say no to what people want when you can't always say yes. And I think that the challenge with spending is going to have to have an evenness or to what the needs of its residents and citizens are.
Thank you. Dieter?
I think the financial challenge that's going to present the town in the next 4 years will be to continue with its fiscal responsibilities as they are. I mean, when you budget and you're meeting budget and things are going good, but you're not really growing revenue a lot, I feel that sometimes there's a tendency to go out and spend on things that we can't afford. So I would say fiscal responsibility and growing both revenue and in the budget at the same time or in lockstep would be probably the immediate challenge.
Okay. David?
I'm going to be a bit of a bear here. I think tax revenues over the next few years at some point is going to present a challenge for us. Costs are not going to decrease in conjunction with tax revenues. I mean, that's just how it works, right? So I think maintaining fiscal discipline, which from what we've seen so far, the town definitely has. I think we need to maintain that and make sure that we're ready because that day will probably come when tax revenues decrease.
Glenn?
I think our biggest financial challenge is we approximately have about a $12 million budget a year, and meeting the needs and wants of all the citizens is going to be a tough thing to balance, whether it be arts, whether it be parks, open space, trails. There's only so much money to go around, and getting people to understand and recognize how much money is coming in versus how much money they want going out to be spent on certain projects is going to be a challenge, but it's definitely achievable to get community buy-in when it comes to explaining why we're funding what projects and why we're not funding other projects. Outreach to community is definitely going to make that a possibility.
Thank you. That's been everybody, right? Okay. What issues do you think the town should make as immediate priorities and long-term priorities? Oh, Dieter.
Immediate, long-term, okay. I think for immediate priorities would be probably, in my opinion, probably to move on early childhood care development. A long-term priority would be to move on the grocery store parcel and changing that into something that we could be more proud of. And I'm I'm sorry, I missed the rest of the question. I was writing it down. I think that was it.
Immediate priorities and long-term priorities.
Yeah, I mean, those would be, I think, the immediate ones. Like
So childcare,
early child
early
care development.
childcare, and the
then,
development of the.
that's right, the grocery
Keep calling it
store
the grocery
parcel.
store parcel. Okay.
Right, you got it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Glenn?
Immediate priorities would be completing the Basalt River Park. It's been approved. We got to make sure that the developer continues on, gets it done as quick as he can. You know, hopefully it doesn't take 7 years to get this restaurant built. I don't see that being a possibility. I think in all reality, that'll probably be something that happens within 4 years. As far as our long-term priorities go, I think we have to create a sustainable environment and a community that everybody in this room wants to live and be a part of.
Okay. Tiffany?
I would say immediate would be childcare. We lack childcare in this valley at a really, really high rate. And then as far as long-term, I would say affordable housing would be is a priority. For example, I would love for my children to be able to live here if they choose, when they graduate high school or after they attend college. And as of right now, I don't know if that would be feasible. Thank you.
Okay. David?
So immediately, the Clark's parcel, the river park, obviously, but also, I mean, we have to keep our eye on the ball with climate change. I mean, that's just existentially the most important thing that's out there right now. So that long-term, though, making sure the master plan, that we're continuing to iterate on that we're continuing to keep that up to date and reflecting what the community wants. And youth center for the kids who are bigger than elementary school, but not big enough to be out by themselves and kind of taking care of themselves. I think those are the longer term priorities, I would say.
Okay. And Elise?
I'm going to go opposite of Tiffany on this one. I think affordable housing should be the immediate concern. If we don't have the housing that we need to house the workers, that's going to be a big hit to our economy. So I would put that first. I do agree with a lot of folks here about the Clark's parcel as a long-term. That's definitely something that has so much opportunity. It's the heart of our town, and we could do so much more.
Okay. Next question. What initiatives do you propose to meet the needs of our ever-increasing aging population in terms of housing, transportation, healthcare, and things like that? And this time, David's going to go first.
Sure. So a senior, I mentioned the youth center in the last question, a senior center, we should look into that. I honestly don't know what the demand would be for that, but I think that's something we should explore. Transportation, I know a lot of people have talked about connecting the two cores of Basalt, the 3 cores with Southside. So that would be something as well to look into. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. And Dieter?
There's a couple things I would recommend just for the mobility. A connector makes a lot of sense. I think we lack, some medical services here in this community for them. It's kind of a different ball of wax, having to go to either Glenwood or Aspen to see a specialist, and then just the general spaces that. Like if we're doing development, that should be consideration just as much as a child care center or whatever. But really, I think it's it's kind of going to be a mixed bag because they want the dignity of what it is to still be active in life, and whatever initiatives we could put forward to kind of keep them in that sense, I would say.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Elise?
Am I allowed to say ditto?
Yes?
I'm going to come back to affordable housing again. In order for the senior population to stay here and age in place, we have to have affordable options for them. And I agree with the idea of a multi-generational gathering space. That was something that I talked about in the last forum and something that I heard over and over again among the outreach from the Basalt Master Plan.
Okay. Glenn?
I would have to definitely agree with the connector shuttle, allowing mobility. That's going to work for students, elderly. I think there's also a lot of resources that are currently available within town. You have Mid-Valley Health Institute, you have Mid-Valley Medical Center. These things were all put in place with the elderly in mind so that they had the opportunity to have specialists, x-rays, different doctors that are right there that are definitely able to be there for them. They also work in conjunction with generally Aspen Valley Hospital or Valley View Hospital, which, you know, it's here. We just got to make it known that it's here and it's known that it's available. I know there's a new nonprofit that started up that is definitely working on that to help out the elderly.
Tiffany?
I'm just going to piggyback off of what Elise said in the affordable housing, especially for seniors. I know that you may eventually want to graduate to a smaller space instead of living in a larger home. And right now, that's not possible for a lot of seniors in this valley to be able to sell their home and move into a smaller apartment when it costs just as much as what their home is selling for. So affordable housing for seniors, a senior care center, active participation groups for them, whether that's senior gyms too, to be able to get physical exercise outside of just your normal facility.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Next question. What public process or level of involvement do you propose for future upgrades and changes in Basalt, such as improvements to the town parks, the pools, the shuttle that you've spoken about, things like that? And going first this time is Glenn.
So I kind of think the current process works pretty good. We've had plenty of public input on Albany Park Pool, for example. That helped draft and create the plan that is there. The master plan, that was a massive amount of public input. Had plenty of effort, I think 7, 8 different meetings. You'd probably know better than this on me. It was definitely a ton of public outreach was put in place there. I think we have to realize how much this town has already done to do public outreach and to get people involved. We have volunteer boards that give input to council, whether it be for the arts, whether it be for the parks, financials, even down to signs. I mean, there's a lot of public input that is already being out there. It's just a matter of engaging in it.
Okay. And David?
So I don't want to be too redundant here, but yeah, the community engagement process, just continue what we're doing, the Let's Talk Basalt. That was a successful process from an outsider's perspective. I think doing more things like that would be helpful for any issue of importance.
Okay. Tiffany?
Could you repeat the question for me?
What public process or involvement do you propose for future upgrades and changes in Basalt, such as improvements to the town parks, pool, et cetera?
Well, first and foremost, community involvement. You need to hear what the community has to say in order to help their needs. That said, I think we need to revitalize the Old Town. We do need to fix some sidewalks. I want it to see it looking more vibrant, and I think that as much traffic as Willits gets, we could get the same amount of traffic in Old Town if we start engaging more at updating in that process of Old Town itself. Thank you.
Elise?
To piggyback on what David said about Let's Talk Basalt, we use this for the Basalt master planning process, and it was really a great tool because it allows people to give feedback when it's convenient for them. And I think that's, a big issue that we currently have with our processes. Taking comment at town council meetings is fantastic, but if that timing doesn't work for you, if you're, putting your kids to bed or making dinner, there needs to be some alternatives. So an online portal for that, like the Let's Talk Basalt website, would really allow us to have a better and more robust public process.
Okay. That was for Dieter.
So again, I think what the town and council is currently doing is pretty effective, and I would like to see that to continue. But to kind of broaden on to the out of hours concept, I believe oftentimes I think maybe hosting a forum or something, it's more of in a social environment and less in a forum environment where you people can be a little bit hopefully more honest and not us up here and people sitting in the audience. It's just, I think a lot of ideas can be incubated from more organic kind of feeling forums.
Okay. So, how are you going to pay for it? What new sources of revenue would you consider viable or worth exploring to fund our future? Elise?
Now, is that in relation to the previous question or just in general? What are we funding?
What are we funding?
Yeah, whatever it is that you want to do, and we've heard everything from affordable housing to childcare, more elder care opportunities, revitalization of downtowns. We've heard things about, we haven't heard that much about things that you'd like to do or see in Willits, quite frankly, but all this takes money. So what are you going to do to get the money?
I think we have a lot of good revenue streams in place. We have sales taxes that that are earmarked for specific funds. There's the tax credits available for affordable housing. There are methods out there that maybe we haven't completely tapped into. So I'm not going to profess to know everything about those methods, but a lot of research could be done with respect specifically to the Let's Talk Basalt website. That's an easy fix because we already use it. We've already paid for it. We've already made that investment. So it's an annual subscription, and it's a reasonable investment for the things that we want to do. I'll just stop there.
Okay, all right, Tiffany?
Well, I don't think all funding necessarily needs to come straight out of just Basalt. We can also look at other avenues and resources in Eagle and Pitkin counties to take advantage of programs even across the state of Colorado to help fund locally what we are trying to accomplish.
Okay. David?
Helping to grow our economy would help to grow our tax base. I mean, I think that's a big part of it. Grants, where they do exist, right? There's opportunities out there. There's opportunities for regional collaboration. And then, obviously, you could also repurpose existing sources as well as we reprioritize what we want to be doing.
Dieter?
Yeah, I think as the community becomes more livable with affordable housing, as we address some of the greater issues, I think happens is I think it's a byproduct of having a better, more robust budget to kind of work with to make things happen. If I was to just throw a dart and tell you how I would fund early development childcare, I think we would have to make it like an affordable option for people to actually pay and run this as a business. But maybe we'll look at pre-existing locations to where it's the rent ceiling isn't so high and they can actually make it work. Maybe there's churches or community centers or vacant space that we could have a small space. So I think that's just an example of just trying to be creative.
Okay, Glenn?
So the tobacco tax that was passed, that is definitely earmarked and can only be applied to specific things, but that is going to help with like education, childhood care. There are certain things that fund can be used for. I think it's generated or like projected to generate around $350,000 worth of new tax monies that are coming in. When it comes to the connector shuttle, I think we all got to be real honest with each other and go, maybe that needs to be put out to a vote to see whether citizens want to do it. I know that the chamber itself did a study on it in 2015, and the cost was earmarked around $600,000 to $1 million. So it's not a small chunk of change, and it's gonna take some new revenue streams that don't exist currently. That doesn't mean that we can't get them done. It just means we have to communicate this message appropriately to the community.
Okay. I think we'll do two more. All right, so pedestrian safety has been at the forefront of news lately. And what areas of Basalt do you feel that we need to improve pedestrian safety, and what are your ideas? And this goes to, sorry, Dieter.
Well, I think with regards to Old Town Basalt, the streetscaping would be a big deal there. I know folks that kind of try to move to overflow parking spots. There's not really crosswalks. So I think the streetscaping would be probably top priority to look as a solution there. I think Willits is actually in pretty good shape as far as walkability and pedestrian safety goes, but I don't think as we continue to see growth in that area, we need to make sure that that stays on, top of the list as far as things that need to be in the planning process.
Okay. Glenn.
So we've got a few spots in Old Town Basalt that, just because of the age of the town, that don't currently abide by ADA compliant as far as wheelchair accessibilities and all that. That, I think, is the biggest thing we would probably want to tackle first, is making sure that all of our sidewalks are ADA compliant. Somebody in a wheelchair can access them very safely. There's certain spots where you kind of got to get off the sidewalk, go out in the street, hop back on. Those are the types of things that we need to focus on to keep people out of the roadways and make sure it's safe. I know in Willits area, East Valley Road, just knocking doors over there, there's several people who have concerns about speed limit, how fast people are driving through there. That's already got speed humps and everything. Maybe we try to get more enforcement when it comes to the police department to slow that traffic down and make sure that that's monitored appropriately.
Tiffany.
I'm going to speak about Willits directly on this one, and I would say, as far as pedestrian safety, is that a lot of the builders and developers there need to make sure that they are shoveling and plowing driveways and walks. I know firsthand of just walking my dog or a child that if a portion of the sidewalk is complete ice or snow, you have to go off into the road to get around that. So I think taking care of property in Willits and or Old Town Basalt to make sure that you're not having to step out into the street, providing those opportunities for wheelchair accessibility, as well as slower speed limits throughout neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is our final question.
I didn't get to go.
Oh, wait. Wait a minute, what's your name?
I want to talk about the pedestrians.
David?
I don't think I went either.
David.
At least
No, you didn't. I got out of order.
I'm not the
here.
only one.
I apologize.
Feel better?
Out of order. David?
Sure. So it's a lot of basics. The clearly marked crosswalks. We got to make sure that the paint, you can see where it is. People know that they're supposed to cross here. So it's predictable, right? Places that are more dangerous probably has some signs, maybe even the sign that flashes. Maybe it might even need to make a noise if it's a busy enough spot. Although I think with the two underpasses, we've gotten rid of the most dangerous spots. And then continue the speed enforcement. I think we do a pretty good job with that here. I watch stop signs and I always come to a full stop, and you see somebody there a lot of times watching. So I think we need to keep that up as well.
Okay, so Elise?
Actually, as the last person, I think that the candidates here have really well covered it.
Okay, thank you. So everyone didn't get to answer that one, right? Okay, good. Okay, David. Where did it go? As an elected official, how will you maintain transparency in your role, and how will you handle any potential conflicts of interest with regard to yourself or other relationships?
Sure. So maintaining transparency in the role, it really comes down to following the rules, right? Doing the right thing, making sure that you're not only adhering to the rules that you're supposed to be adhering to, but doing things that are ethically right, doing things that are true to yourself, right? And then if anything, as far as a conflict of interest, anything that at all like that, I would probably, I mean, I'd talk to staff and make sure, I mean, I'd recuse myself, make sure that I wasn't overblowing it, but recusal is a great way to get yourself out of the mix if there's a conflict of interest.
Okay, Elise?
First of all, I'd like to say that, oops. That's all I have to say. No, I would like to say that in terms of transparency, one thing that we have going here, which is really fantastic because we're such a small community, is our local newspapers. And I know that Scott Condon is here, and Madeline, and I am blanking out on your name. Steve, I'm so sorry. And you guys all do such a great job reporting on what's going on in the community. And so first of all, in terms of transparency, you guys really keep us on the straight and narrow, so thank you for that. I think also we've come a long way. We've learned a lot over the last couple of years. Some of the missteps along the way, we're facing those head on. We had a great information session to understand what's expected of a council person when you can and can't communicate. So there's a lot of education that's happening.
Okay. Dieter?
Follow the rules and, just kind of continue the open government transparency that we already have.
Okay. Glenn?
I think that one's pretty much done.
Okay. Tiffany?
I think part of being transparent is always staying honest and true to who you are. It's being authentic and representing yourself in a truthful way. As far as disagreements go, you're always going to have that, and I think as long as you're staying true to your beliefs, that you're going to be able to work through a lot of issues. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to throw one more in there because we are ahead of time. Can I? This is a really quick question. This is a yes or no. Okay? Do you feel capable of representing the people in your community over and above your personal interests if it comes to that? Glenn?
Yes.
Tiffany?
Yes.
Elise?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Dieter?
C.
Okay. All right. So now it's time for closing statements. And you have a minute. And so let me think now. I've been keeping track of who went first when. Oh, my word. Let's just go back the way we did. Let's start with Glenn and go all the way straight down.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight, listening to what we have to say. When it comes to running for town council, I think it's an extremely grateful privilege to be able to represent everybody and represent everybody in this community at a meeting. And it's an honor to be able to do that, or would be an honor to do that. I'm here to represent all community members. I'm here to work together with whoever we may end up being with. We're going to solve problems, and we're going to get things done.
Okay. Tiffany?
So I am a citizen of Basalt just like you. And I think a few people told me I might have a couple screws loose to be running for town council. But I found it as a really exciting opportunity to be more committed to this town than ever before. And I find that really inspiring as an opportunity to not just represent my interests, but also to represent yours. And that being a mom of 2 boys in Basalt schools and being a resident here in a small town that has such beautiful potential, I would hope that I could get your vote if you want to see new ideas and fresh perspective on council. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for the chamber for hosting tonight.
Welcome. Elise?
Thank you. I didn't prepare any closing remarks because I was thinking that there would be something that I would really want to respond to that came about through the course of this conversation, but I feel like we've really closed a lot of loose ends. So I'm just going to use my time to say that I really want to represent the community. I don't have a personal agenda. I have friends who have children that have childcare issues. I have, my partner owns a business that has a hard time staffing because there's no affordable housing. So these are all things that are near and dear to my heart. My background is in sustainability, so really seeing us push the needle on what we can do as a community to further emissions reductions or renewable energy projects or waste and recycling, whatever that might look like. These are all really exciting and adventurous opportunities to me.
David?
Bring us over a little bit. Thank you all, Kathy, Chris, the Roaring Fork Weekly Journal, everybody here who came out tonight. I think, with politics the way they are nationally, as dysfunctional as they are, to see the energy and the enthusiasm for local politics is inspiring, and it's healthy, and it's what's going to make us get through to the other side of where we're at right now. We live in an amazing place. Every time I drive back into town when I'm away, it's like I have to pinch myself because we're so lucky to be here. So in closing, I hope you guys pick me to be a town councilor. I sincerely do. But even more importantly, thank you all for participating in the process to make Basalt a better place.
Dieter?
Thank you for organizing and hosting and for being here and listening to me and my fantastic colleagues. I appreciate that. I truly wish, I think everybody in this room is obviously passionate about Basalt, and that's why we're sitting here. I really wish, that any of us had a silver bullet for the issues that we talk about and the questions and the problems that the town council has to consider, that the citizens of the community face. I would just like to say that I think I am running for town council because I listen, I do my homework, I feel I provide thoughtful, creative insight on what can be done. And I am asking for your vote because I think that what I could do is sit down with folks. We could get together and share ideas. A lot are similar, and make the city a better place.
Thank you so much, everyone.
We're gonna end early. You guys are amazing. I didn't have to use the buzzer that often, so kudos to you.
serious.
It's just very
Serious and to the point.
I appreciate that. I think so does the audience who all stayed here late. We should have had them go first, and then you guys, take the lead. So I know there's a lot of different elections happening right now, but the municipal election is Tuesday, April 7th. Ballots are due by 7 p.m. Sorry. Okay, ballots will be mailed out between March 16th and March 23rd, 2020. Colorado has same-day voter registration. However, the last day to establish residency in the town of Basalt is March 16th. The first day ballots will be sent out. Be sure to register or check your voter registration for accuracy at www.govotecolorado.com. Additional information can be attained on the town's website at basalt.net. Click on the 2020 election information on the left side of the homepage under the newsflash section. If you have questions about the 2020 election, please email or call our town clerk, Pam Schilling, who is hiding in the corner over there. And her information's on the town website. She also, as I said earlier, will be doing more about the rank vote ballot and what that looks like. Thank you again to the Basalt Regional Library and our sponsors, Bank of Colorado. Their pens are scattered about if you want to snag one. Roaring Fork Weekly Journal and the town of Basalt. Tonight's forum was made possible because of them, and it will be made available online on the Town of Basalt's channel, on GrassRoots TV's website, as well as being rebroadcast on cable channel 12 in Basalt and Aspen, and channel 82 for those watching between Catherine Store and Glenwood Springs. Please vote tomorrow, April 7th and June 30th, and then again in November. So stay politically active. Thank you so much for your time. And if you need me, I'm Chris Matera from the Chamber, and have a great night.